Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're heading to Brandenburg. Now, when you think of this German region, you probably picture forests and lakes, right? But what's really happening is that it's become this unlikely front line in a brand new and very serious war on drugs. So we're going to go way beyond the headlines, past the big police raids. We're going to get into the deeper story here. What are these substances that are changing the whole game? What's the hidden psychological cost? And this is so important. Where can people actually turn for help? All right, let's get into it. So, Section 1, Brandenburg's drug raids. This whole situation really escalated recently. Law enforcement decided it was time to send a message, a really clear and forceful one, that they are pushing back, and pushing back hard, against organized drug trafficking in the region. And we're not talking about small busts here. These were large-scale raids across a bunch of cities that showed just how big the problem is. And yeah, investigators found what you might expect: a lot of drugs, weapons, and cash. But then, they found something that was a total game changer: a complete, fully functional drug lab. And that right there is the crucial point. This discovery changes everything. It means this isn't just a highway for drugs being smuggled through from somewhere else. Nope. It means they are making this stuff right here on site. And that just escalates the threat. It shows you how deep these criminal networks have really dug in. Okay, so let's move on. Section 2, the danger of synthetics. Because it's not just about what they were making in that lab. It's also about what's showing up on the streets. You've got the classic drugs, sure, but there's a much more sinister, kind of unpredictable threat that's on the rise, and that's synthetics. You can almost think of it like the police are fighting a war on two different fronts now. On one hand, yeah, they're still seizing tons of cocaine and marijuana. But on the other, authorities are really sounding the alarm about these synthetic drugs. Things like crystal meth, which is often smuggled across the nearby Czech border, are a huge concern. And so are these new super high-dose pills that can just pop up seemingly out of nowhere. And here's a perfect and pretty scary example. Not long ago, police and even festival organizers had to put out these urgent warnings about a dangerously high-dosed ecstasy pill they were calling the Blue Punisher. Its sudden appearance is just, wow. It shows you just how fast these new threats can materialize and put people's lives in serious danger. And that brings us to Section 3, the hidden psychological cost. Because that risk we're talking about, it goes so much deeper than just crime scenes and police reports. The real crisis here is the human impact. It's the battle that's happening inside, in the minds of the people using these drugs. So, what are the real consequences here? When people use these incredibly powerful synthetic drugs, what actually happens to them? What's the real human cost that's hiding behind all those headlines? Well, the consequences they're just devastating. We're told these substances can create a really rapid path, not just to a powerful addiction, but to some truly profound mental health crises. I mean, we are talking about severe paranoia, debilitating psychoses. That's the hidden cost, and maybe the most tragic part of this whole crisis. But, and this is a really important but, despite how stark that reality is, the story doesn't end in despair. Let's talk about Section 4, finding help in Brandenburg, because there is this powerful counter-narrative going on. It's one of hope and community resilience. There's actually a really strong support network that's been built to fight back. And for anyone out there who might be struggling or knows someone who is, it's so vital to know that help is there. I mean, just look at one district, Oberhavel. You've got a whole spectrum of care. Everything from confidential counseling for individuals and their families, all the way to specialized hospital treatment for people who need that more intensive level of care. And these services, they're a lifeline. They really are. They show that the community isn't just reacting to the crime, They're actively trying to get at the root causes of the whole problem, the addiction, the mental health struggles. It's all about trying to break what can be a really devastating cycle. Okay, Section 5. The fight isn't over. So after all of this, what's the big takeaway? Let's pull all these threads together for one final thought. Look, the police raids and seizures, that's a huge, necessary part of this story, for sure. Getting labs shut down and drugs off the street is absolutely critical. But that action by itself doesn't solve the root problem, which is addiction. The real battle, and often the much harder one, is the one that happens inside a person. And that really brings us to the most important message of all. The fight against addiction is incredibly, incredibly hard. It can feel so isolating. But the hope is in knowing that a support network is there. Hope lies in this simple but really powerful fact. In this fight, you are not alone.